What's up, everybody? Welcome to the season premiere of One Lap to Go. As you notice, we got a new format change this time. We're actually live, thanks to a wonderful, wonderful couple of people. And with that said, I'll introduce the new additions to the show. I actually have co-hosts, so yay! First of all, the person who made this all possible, and a wonderful, wonderful friend of mine, Miss Heather. How you tonight?
I'm a bit tired, but doing all right.
That's good. That's good. And I cannot believe I can't believe we actually have her on the show. The other co-host, Miss Ronnie. How you tonight?
I'm doing good as well. Getting ready for the race tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. So you're going to that, ain't you?
Yes, I am.
Lucky
Yes, I
you.
am. Looking forward to it.
Make
Lucky
sure
you,
you
that's
take
for sure.
lots of sunscreen.
Oh, yes, yes. They're 86 degrees, and they already said the track temps will probably be over 100 when the race starts.
Should
Oh,
make for an interesting race at that point, because with
Yep.
the last race they had, it was cold track, cold tires. You're not gonna get much traction.
Can you shut the fuck up?
No, she doesn't know how.
God.
She wants her input too. She's a new co-host too.
Oh, hell no.
Now she spit out Pappy.
I'm used to it. I don't even fucking care anymore.
I'm just letting you know.
I know.
so I want to talk about this. All fucking week, I've been seeing people just shitting on Jimmy for what he done in the clash. I think it's completely bullshit and unwarranted. Look, if you go back and watch the replay of what happened, it was totally a racing incident. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't intentionally wreck Paul Palmenhart at all. Like, it was just one of those racing deals. Like, you gotta think they're going at it 200 miles an hour, and there's not much real estate between cars. One little fuck up, you saw what happened. Like, it's been a product of this type of racing for years. Ever
Since
since
the beginning,
they
because of
started.
side draft and all of that.
Yeah, like, so stop shitting on Jimmy. He didn't do anything wrong. It was just a product of the racing. Well, what do you think, Ronnie?
I agree with you. Jimmy is my racer I follow. And I mean, the stuff that was said on Twitter to me was just unwarranted. He's always been a driver that takes steps to proceed to get to the front, even when he's all the way at the back. I mean, his aggressive style of driving has always been something I've always liked and watched. And just like you said, 200 miles an hour, he had that little window to make that move. And when you're going that fast and to make that sudden of a move, I mean, it was a racing incident. It wasn't anything malicious. It wasn't anything to knock out the rest of the pack that people were saying. It wasn't, oh, well, if he can't win, which he had been at a 19-month drought of winning, that he's going to start wrecking people. And it's not any of that. And he went and apologized. He basically went back, I guess, and looked at the tapes afterwards and what the incident, how it occurred. And I mean, everything at that point seemed to be fine and kosher with the two drivers. And it just, yeah, to me, it was all unwarranted for the backlash that he was getting. They wanted him penalized. And it's just like, this is racing. And it was the startup of the new season. He's also got a new crew chief as well. So he was getting acclimated with that as well. And everybody else, I mean, you had changes with other drivers that were getting acclimated with their new staff and crew. So, I mean, it was an accident. So take it with everything being apologized for, looking back at it, and just move on. You learn from it, and you just next time try to do better. But when you're going at that speed, and it's amazing because I've been to a couple of the races already at Daytona, it's the speed of those cars going around, and you're sitting in those seats and you're feeling the vibration, and you're feeling just the on your feet in the stands, and it's an adrenaline rush. So you can just imagine what's going through them guys in those cars.
It's JP. You never met me. You know me from Mondays and Tuesdays. I just have one. I'm not a racing fan. I did watch it back when if that would have happened during Dale Earnhardt's time, think about it. That is, to me, I didn't watch what happened, but from what I'm hearing, Dale Earnhardt did that all the time. People didn't bitch about it then.
Well, and that's how he got his name, the Intimidator. I mean, that was his style of racing, and that's what, I mean, with his nickname, he took those chances. He took those opportunities. And, I mean, it wasn't like he went without, like you said, without incident.
I mean, it's aggressive racing. Shouldn't that be what racing is about? Isn't that what racing means?
Well,
being aggressive?
that's why there's a saying called "wrecking is racing" or "rubbing is racing."
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get that streak along the side of the car, or you leave that streak on the wall.
Especially at the Monster Mile.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not a racing fan, but, I mean, come on. They're already losing fans as is.
Oh, it's because they made the format so boring.
Yes.
That's kind of why I fell into the wayside with watching it. That and my driver, Casey Kane, had to retire because of health issues, but I've kind of stepped back from watching because it's especially with a 500-mile race like the Daytona, it's hard to watch it with it being in the separate stages the way it is.
Yeah, honestly, when they started doing that, I didn't really care for it.
Mm-hmm.
And when it is a long race, yes, it is. It is long, it's mundane. And if nothing is happening and they're just going around and around and around and around, which we saw Thursday with the Clash, I mean, people were complaining it was boring. There was nothing happening in the second Clash. The first Clash, of course, Jimmy was involved in another wreck, which caused an uproar again. But it's just, if there's no wrecks and there's no fire, anything exciting, people complain it's boring. But it's just, when you're watching them, for me, with the stages, when they're plotting their pit stops and when they're doing okay, this is the scheduled one, it's, does this one take the 2 wheels? Who takes the 4 wheels? I kind of started getting more into with the stages just to see how certain drivers pitted at certain times and certain strategies were used. And I kind of got into the stages, but with the longer races, it is very, very long.
It's hard to watch. It's not saying that that the race itself is boring because there's no accidents. When there's not even any passing going on.
I fell asleep last year.
He did.
Right, because basically, I mean, it's just them going around the track playing follow the leader, single file.
So
there's no changes. But when it does get to that aggressive stage and it's like, okay, somebody's going to make a move, somebody's going to do something, and 200 miles plus going around that track or any track that they're on, things are going to happen. And yes, and that's when it does get exciting. You get the bump, and then you get the two fighting it out, and then you get the switching back and forth between second and third, first and second. And then if an accident does occur, then you've got like the chain reaction, which actually is what happened with Jimmy with the Clash race. It caused a chain reaction that knocked out, pretty much wiped out the whole back end of that field.
Not to mention, it's Daytona.
Yes.
With it being restrictor plate racing and it being Daytona Speedway, They have to be lined up in order to get some sort of aerodynamics going on with the car to get up to the speeds that they're doing. To make it around this track and not have it be an hour for each lap.
Well, the thing that gets me is Jimmy right now. I I hate to say this, is getting the fucking Charlotte Flair treatment right now. Like they're both getting shit on Twitter for nothing that they did, and the fans is ruining both of the sports.
They are.
I agree with you, Bob. I mean, he's always been a source of contention with the fans with how he did his racing style, but it's not anything he's changed. He's had to change and adapt because of changes with his crew, and he did have that law where he didn't win for like 19 months straight. Now all of a sudden this occurs and he wins, and he's also running for his 8th championship, and people are going to basically shit all over it. And
right, and again, it's because it's the 8th championship. Like, right. We want somebody else already.
Right. I mean, even like last year, Kevin Harvick started getting flack for all his wins.
Uh-huh.
And the funny thing with his, because I follow his wife on Twitter, when his first child was born, Keelan, he had that same winning mentality and the same winning streak, and their little girl just turned a year. So
right.
It was her first year, and he had all those wins. And people were starting to complain, oh, it's Kevin Harvick again. Oh, it's Martin Truex again. And it's just when I guess someone has that momentum going for them and they have that fan base that is now starting to come alive, you're going to have the other fan base of, well, this is rigged and they're setting this up for him to win, and he's causing this. And
Hendrick bought out so-and-so.
Right. And then now that you're going to have the feud on track as well as off track. You've got the Twitter war going back and forth. But it's with any sport, and it's give and take. But even to start off right off the year,
yeah.
I mean, it was good to see him win. It was good to finally see it. But if that incident would not have occurred and he would have gotten around him without incident, I still say he would have won. It might have been back and forth, but he kind of had the advantage at that point once he got around. And unfortunately, when he did get around, the incident occurred.
Yeah, and again, it's Daytona. Any car that spins out is going to end up collecting 15 cars behind him.
Yep.
Yeah, and like you can't escape it. It's like Martinsville or Bristol.
Talladega.
At Bristol, as soon as somebody spins, you're gonna be damn lucky to not collect half the field.
The difference is with Daytona, it's because that everybody has to be on each other's ass that you're going to collect everybody behind you.
Yeah.
With Martinsville and Bristol, there's just no room for anybody to move anywhere to get out of the way, so they just get taken out.
Right.
I mean, they call Martinsville the paperclip for a reason.
I swear that track is perfect for that song. Move, bitch, get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
It really is. It really is, and I've been there in person, so.
Oh, and even to this, I mean, if you compare this to basketball, because basketball is going on right now with all the NBA games, all they're doing is running up and back and forth, up and down
yeah, there's no defense in that game.
Right, and it's just like you pass the ball, you shoot the ball.
Right.
So yeah, a match on the track, racing, unless there are the aggressive drivers, the aggressive mentality of some of them that have that capability to get it exciting, then for some, yes, just going around and around and around, turning left is boring. But take into consideration the strategies, take into consideration the pitting,
Mm-hmm.
take into consideration you're going to have a couple of these drivers that are going to try to step it up and take advantage of an opportunity. And an incident can happen, or like I said, if he wouldn't have hit him, I think he still would have won it. And then what would have been anybody's excuse at that point?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is like, oh, people goes, oh, all they're doing is turning left. You don't realize they're suffering G-forces of fucking fighter pilots. Like they have to be like in shape in order to even last for the entire race.
Not only
Oh,
that,
yeah.
not only that, the internal temperature of that car can get up to 200 degrees, and sometimes.
Yeah.
And with the longer races, you have seen where they have gotten dehydrated. They have had side effects from it a day or two later. They're
That's
perfect.
Fluids.
Perfect example is Casey Kane.
Yep.
Yeah, at the brickyard.
I mean, he had to step away from the big boy NASCAR racing and go to the dirt track racing because of the fact that he kept getting dehydrated and could not rehydrate himself fast enough in order to keep himself safe while driving.
And then even some of the drivers, because they have come out publicly, they have health issues. You've got the driver with the diabetes. You've got the driver that had the blood clots.
Yep.
So they're also dealing with health issues upon their long season, and they get a very short downtime to get back on the track, do it all over again. And the effects of all that and trying to drive. I mean, even here in Florida, you got people driving on the highway that drive like they do on the track, or they're driving the worst extreme where they're driving 40 miles an hour and you're trying to get around them.
Yeah, those are the people that I want to sit there and just be in that junk pile of a car and just take them out and not give a shit.
Well, here you gotta kind of watch.
There's a speed limit for a reason. Either go that speed limit or be over it.
That's it. So I think it's going to be an interesting season to say the least, with everything that's started off already, and you got the changes with some of the crews, and you got changes with some of the drivers that have come up and stuff like that. And I mean, I've always followed mainly Hendrick's guys and Harvick and Casey at the one point with being with Hendrick. But it's going to be interesting because they have implemented some new things just to see how they play out this year. The other controversy with Jimmy that I saw on Twitter is Jeff Gordon owns his car this year, or his owner, and with him being the announcer, how he was making excuses, as they said on Twitter or social media, for Jimmy and what happened. And that wasn't the case. He was explaining what occurred and how it occurred, and he was trying to justify, I guess, some of the backlash too of that, what he was getting. And he even said, you just, things happen. It's considered a racing incident.
And nothing against you, Bobbitt, or the fact that you're a Jeff Gordon fan. Jeff Gordon has a lot of experience making excuses for no reason.
Well, it's like, yes, Jeff has always had co-ownership of that car with Rick Hendrick, but Jeff is not. I mean, he's a little biased, but so is fucking Darrell Waltrip. So is fucking Rick Allen or Jeff Burton or any of those fucks in the booth.
Well, I've even noticed too Earnhardt with when he started.
Yeah.
But and it's just something for somebody, I guess, to complain and bitch about. And unfortunately, Jimmy's used to being in that spotlight at times with the controversy and things, and with the championships. So, I mean, I'm kind of used to seeing the stuff negative as well as positive with him. but it just seems that this really started off the season right off the bat, where it's like, okay, last year you were hardly talked about other than your losing streak. Now this year it's the flip end.
Yeah.
And if anybody says, "Oh, they're ultra biased," look at the fucking 2001 Daytona 500.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like he was all over fucking Michael.
Yeah, he was.
Hell, he was more excited about Michael winning than he was concerned about Dale Earnhardt crashing.
Who's that? What's he talking about?
And even with Jeff too, and again, it wasn't anything negative because I know you do like Jeff Gordon, Bobbitt, but he worked with him for so many years, so he's going to know. Same with Earnhardt. They know each other like the back of their hands.
Yeah.
Because they were a team together, they raced together, but they were also competing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, I know you so well. What can I do to outsmart you to get to first, to get that championship, to get that win? So in a way, it's kind of good to hear their commentary with that, because it's like they know how he drives. They know how he thinks to a point, and it's like you either change it up, or in their instance, it's like, okay, how do I outmaneuver? How do I outdrive?
Which is really what you're supposed to do in this sport. You're supposed to figure out
Right.
how to outdrive the other car, especially since the cars are fucking identical now.
Yes.
I will say though, I do like how they got different bodies. Like we finally have Camaro versus Mustang.
Yes.
Now, even today, yeah, they showed, I guess it was the Supra, the Toyota Supra, the change with that, with the Xfinity race today. They were showing that off.
That car is fucking
I
ugly.
know.
Sorry.
Well, it's a
But
Toyota. What do you
it's a
expect?
hot mess of, oh God.
What do you expect with a Toyota? I mean, come on.
It looks like fucking something they would create in GTA 5.
Somebody probably did and then sent it as a concept.
Probably.
It sounded like Wendy agreed with you.
Yeah.
You heard her say, yeah.
No, she was watching the race there for a little bit and then she got interested in her toes. Okay.
Oh. These are a little bit more fun to look at.
That's the JP side of her.
What?
He said that's the JP side of her.
What? Because she's looking at her toes.
Uh-huh.
You're so weird.
But yeah, another thing I want to bring up is this is the last race of the restrictor plate. After this, they're going to, what is it, a tampered spacer thingamajigger?
It's something that's going to be similar to a restrictor plate from what I've been reading, but it's not going to actually restrict the speed of the car indefinitely. It's not your traditional restrictor plate. You're still going to get some restrictions on the car and how fast it goes and what you can do with the car, but it's not as detrimental as the actual restrictor plate is, or as damaging to the engine as a restrictor plate can be.
Like, I don't know if this actually went through or not. They was talking about during the off season putting fucking restrictor plates on 1.5 tracks.
Sure, if you want something that's already 4 hours long to be 8 hours long. I mean,
why?
The only way I can see is they're trying to think of driver safety in that aspect. That's the only thing I could think of. Otherwise, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I think it's similar along the lines like the concussion protocol with football, with the hits and stuff like that. It's like, how can we better improve?
Yes.
But until they implement it, until it goes through, they're not going to know.
Right.
And it may end up being that it's something that it doesn't work opposed to something that would work. But if it's, which most of the drivers do talk about, ways to improve the safety.
What they could do for driver safety is do what the NHRA drivers are doing. They have thicker cushions on their headrests, but also their Hans devices actually go down the entire length of the spine. Whereas with NASCAR, it only goes to the top of the shoulders. So with the Hans device going all the way down the spine, it creates more stability for the neck and drastically reduces whiplash.
Right, and even if when they show like the insides of the car and you see them when they're sitting in there, they're like packed like a sardine in there, and it is a very, very tight. I mean, it looks very safe from what you're looking at, but imagine being in that at 200 miles an hour and flying or flipping or doing any of the things that would like a major crash occurring. Anything that, and they always say it, anything that can improve the safety for the drivers or anything that can help the drivers with the and in the event of a tragic accident like we have seen in the past is to benefit everybody.
Right. And it's like I said, with like, and they can't even, as much as I fucking hate this bitch, Danica Patrick, what she implemented with the driver's safety, with when you crash into the wall, take your hands off the wheel.
Right. Right, because you had seen in past wrecks with others where their wrists flipped back or snapped or cracked or sprained.
Have issues with their thumbs.
Yep. And she was notorious for always crashing into the walls. So
yeah, she was.
Yeah. She had some practice.
Well, that's what they're taught to do in F1, in Formula One racing. Because with that's serious wrist damage, with how hard they hit they could hit the wall with that. So in F1, they're taught go like this when you get into that situation.
And even when they're showing like slow motion and replays and you're seeing their hands and the whipping of the wheel, and it's just like your hand could get into the crevice of the wheel and stuff like that. I mean, and that wheel is just spinning and spinning and spinning.
Yep.
And it's just like them trying to maneuver it and hold it and braking. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's just so much that could just be going on, and anything that can help them stay safe while they're trying to control as much as they can in that such a confined space is just going to benefit them.
Mm-hmm. As Bill Engvall once said, sitting and trying to watch a race with his wife, and his wife asks, why don't they just use the mirrors? You try using the mirrors when there's a foot thick pad right next to your head that you can't go, okay, look.
Right.
And that's why they're spotters.
It's kind of like the MRI devices when you're going through and having that done, where they kind of like restrain your head and your neck, and you can't move, don't move.
I mean, that's still end up jumping because it sounds like a fucking machine gun going off.
Yep. So I mean, they're trying to drive and they're trying to strategize, and they got somebody in their ear, and
they got the spotter, they got the crew chief, they got fucking NASCAR itself sometimes in their ear.
Yep. And some of them are mic'd up, so it's just all that's going on, and at 200 miles an hour, and you're going around and around and trying to strategize and make a move. It's just it's a lot.
It is. Oh,
it's like I'm really glad for the safety, because the one wreck I always remember is Gordon's wreck at 2006 Pocono when he lost the brakes.
Right.
If it wasn't for the safety at the time, he would have either died or, his career would have ended right there.
Yeah.
That was a hard hit. Oh.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading, I was watching something that earlier. It's like, it was interesting. Apparently in 2001, like, some of them actually had Hans devices.
Yeah. Earnhardt didn't do it because he was old-fashioned. He innovated a lot of things for racing, but when it came to safety, he was old-fashioned. My belt's enough.
Well, only that, but like he had the, he had the open helmet,
Yep.
Everything.
He was old-fashioned when it came to his own safety in the car. But
and like you said, with the old-fashioned ways, I mean, it was just maybe it was with him too, the comfort, and it was just you're restricting me, and I won't be able to do this, or I may not be able to do that as well if I have all this in.
right. But that's also another issue. Like I said, if they want to think about more about driver safety, they could go to the Hans devices that the NHRA guys are using and have it actually go down the entire spine. So this way, it's not just the helmet keeping the neck safe; it's you're also leaning against it, so you got your whole body keeping your head still. Somebody's still a little cranky.
Do y'all want to give your predictions for the race tomorrow? Who's going to win?
Sure.
Well, this was a quick show.
I'm sticking with Jimmy. I think he's going to cause some issues, possibly.
Well, so we could all get an educated guess with this. Who's on the pole? First and second pole positions.
Oh, a famous number,
Who? Bob, it got me him.
William Byron, the number 24.
Okay, and who's second?
Alex Bowman in the 88.
Okay. So if you want to start off with the predictions, Bob, since it's your show, feel free.
I gotta go with William.
Okay. And we know Ronnie is sticking with Jimmy Johnson.
Where's Kevin Harvick?
What place is Kevin Harvick in?
Let me look. Not totally sure.
It bounced and went that way, so. She's going to be getting a bath soon anyway, so hopefully that'll help calm her down.
Did he find it yet?
He's still looking.
Alrighty, he is starting third.
He's winning.
Alright, JP is going with Harvick, and I have to agree with him on it.
Now, I think they're all contenders.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the dark horse. I am going to go with William Byron, but I don't think he's winning. And I don't know anything about racing. He's assuming he's had the fastest car all week.
He had the fastest. Yeah, I mean he had the fastest car in qualifying. I haven't got to see much practice or anything. But from what I've seen of it, yeah, he's got a pretty good car.
And somebody to not sleep on, Joey Logano. Isn't he the defending champion?
Yes, he is.
Yes,
yep.
He is.
Training.
Which, that's the thing that gets me. The dude didn't win a race all year, but yet he wins a championship.
Called consistency.
Yeah. That's the wonderful thing about the point system, Bobbit, because they count passing, they count how many laps you've had for the entire season, and even it's the whole thing with like fucking Matt Kenseth. He won maybe 2 races the year that he became the champion.
Well, the way that they used to do is the way that I wish they kept it, because you don't finishing in the top 5 in a lot of races.
Yeah.
Fucking wins you a championship more than winning a damn race.
Matt Kenseth.
Terry Labonte. Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah.
Jeff Gordon. How do you think Jeff Gordon won most of his titles?
Finishing top 5.
He's the greatest driver of all time.
Well,
I mean, what?
He's being consistent.
He consistently finished in the top 5. He didn't always win a race.
Right, and the points always help him, because if you don't win a race, then you at least can qualify with the points.
Right.
So that your driving ability can get you in without winning. winning helps you.
Yes.
But
Yeah, which reminds
all-
me, as
it's
soon as we are
basically-
done with this, I need to go and take care of my NASCAR fantasy.
Yeah, same here. My dark horse, he's starting 31st, and I think he's going to win it. Kyle Busch.
He's your dark horse.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on last year's champion either, Austin Dillon.
Yeah.
he was another, and then the other, I think they mentioned Chase Elliott.
Yeah, he's always been consistent.
Yeah, because he was one that, I mean, pushed and pushed and pushed, and then he finally did break through.
Mm-hmm.
Another driver I kind of want to win because he's got wieners all over his car is Ryan Newman.
As much as I hate myself for saying this, because I fucking hate him. My dark horse is gonna be Brad Keselowski.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fucking cannot stand him. But you know what?
Yeah, he's very arrogant, pompous, and cocky, but he backs it up.
Yeah, I mean, between him and Denny Hamlin, it could be anybody's race.
Yep.
He's starting 35th, by the
Mhm.
way.
Yeah. Now, do we want to do under over for when the big one's gonna happen?
First lap.
First off.
That has happened
It
at one
has.
point in time.
And Jimmy Johnson's going to cause it because he's a
I was gonna say, yep. He's gotta end the week the way he started.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
He's gonna be consistent.
I want to say
I'll go like lap one. How many laps are 200?
yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go like lap 195.
I don't.
'Cause
I'm
everybody's
thinking the end of segment 1.
It could, yeah.
Because the only reason I say lap 195 is because everybody's going to be dogging for position.
Yeah, but usually the big one happens before that.
I know that, but I'm just saying.
I'm gonna go lap 95.
I was gonna go with the halfway mark, lap one, yeah, the 100.
I want to go around there because that's usually, on average, about where the big one tends to happen. Because of people trying to jockey for position, especially with doing these stages.
Right.
And with the point system, the stages, those wins for those stages, they count big. So depending on where you finish within each of one of those stages, it counts big towards your points.
Yeah.
That it's gonna be very warm with that track temp and those tires on there and that rubber on there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with the halfway mark, the 95 to 100, like you, Heather.
All right. So is there anything else you want to cover there, Bobbit?
Oh, no. Sounds good. We got everything covered that I wanted to bring up.
Okay. So if you want to end the show here, I don't see why not.
Yeah, because this is the longest episode that I've done of this. So
Yeah.
So we're going to end it here. Thanks for coming out and supporting us. Special thanks to Heather and Ronnie and JP for coming on and helping me do this. We'll see you guys next week with what? What's the next race? Phoenix? Atlanta?
Are
I
you
think
doing
so.
the race tomorrow, Bobby?
It is at
2:30, I believe it's.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got plenty of time.
We'll talk about it, and if so, I'll set it up tonight.
Fuck it, I ain't doing a pre-show.
I'm not. I won't be home for the 500. I gotta record it.
No problem. All right then. So we'll see you next week then, folks.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for having me. This was enjoyable.